I met Daniel when we were kids. He was the kind of guy who could talk his way out of anything, the one who always knew the right thing to say. I was different, more reserved, methodical. He called me the brains, while he was the charmer. Together, we made an unstoppable team. In high school, we schemed our way into making money. Small things, flipping sneakers, reselling gadgets, helping classmates with assignments for a fee. College was where we really hit our stride. We both majored in business, though I leaned more toward tech. I spent my nights coding, building software, while Daniel networked, made connections, and found ways to turn my ideas into cash. After graduation, starting a company seemed like the obvious choice. E&D Tech Solutions was born out of our shared dream, though in hindsight, maybe the dream had only been mine. We started small, working out of a tiny rented office with secondhand desks and cheap coffee. I spent endless nights developing our first product, an AI-powered customer service platform. Daniel, meanwhile, worked his magic, pitching to investors, negotiating contracts, and pulling in clients. It was perfect, or so I thought. Then I found out the truth. It started with something small, a missing financial report. Our CFO, Julia, had asked me about a particular transaction, and when I looked it up, I realized that it led to an unknown account. Confused, I dug deeper, combing through old emails and bank statements. What I found made my stomach drop. Over the past 2 years, Daniel had been quietly shifting company shares into his name. He had forged my signature on legal documents, restructured the board without my knowledge, and funneled money into offshore accounts. Legally, I barely owned a stake in the company anymore, the company I had built. I confronted him that same night in his office. "You were too focused on the work, Ethan," he said, swirling a glass of whiskey. "You never paid attention to the business side. Someone had to take charge." I clenched my fists. "You stole from me, Daniel. You betrayed me." He smirked. "It's just business." I walked out without another word. But I wasn't broken. I was furious. And fury, when tempered with patience, becomes something much more dangerous. I knew one thing. Revenge wouldn't come from lashing out. I had to be smarter than him. I had to destroy him the way he had destroyed me, slowly, carefully, until he never saw it coming. Step 1 was gathering evidence. I hired a forensic accountant, someone who specialized in corporate fraud. For weeks, we dug through financial records, finding every shady transaction, every forged signature, every illegal transfer. The deeper we looked, the more we found. Daniel hadn't just stolen from me. He had been embezzling funds from the company itself. Step 2 was leverage. I started reaching out to investors, the ones who had trusted Daniel. Over quiet lunches and casual drinks, I planted doubts. "Have you checked the latest financial reports?" I'd ask. "Have you noticed the discrepancies?" I didn't have to say much, just enough to make them start questioning things. Step 3 was exposure. I had a contact in the media, a journalist who specialized in corporate fraud cases. I handed her everything: the documents, the bank transfers, the proof of fraud. She was eager to break the story. Step 4 was personal. I called Daniel, my voice calm. "Let's meet," I said. "One last time to settle things." He agreed, laughing. "I knew you'd come around, Ethan. No hard feelings, right?" I smiled. "Of course not." We met at a private club, one of those high-end places where the rich and powerful made deals over $300 whiskey. Daniel arrived looking confident, like he had already won. "I have to admit," I said, shaking his hand, "you played me well." He grinned. "It's just business, Ethan. You should have seen it coming." We drank, talked, reminisced about old times. He thought he had me fooled, that I had accepted my fate. Then his phone buzzed, once, twice, then again. His smirk faded as he read the notifications. The journalist had just published the exposé. Every investor, every board member, every employee was seeing the truth. Emails, bank statements, legal documents. It was all there, out in the open. His phone rang. His lawyer, another call, our biggest investor. His face paled. You... His voice was a whisper. I leaned in, my voice calm. You took everything from me, Daniel. Now, I'm taking it back. The next morning, the headlines were everywhere. Tech CEO exposed for fraud and embezzlement. By noon, the board had voted him out. By evening, the authorities were investigating. His accounts were frozen. His career was over. And me? I was back where I belonged, sitting in the CEO's chair. Because revenge isn't about anger, it's about patience. It's about knowing that in the end, justice always finds its way home.